Okay, now we're going to do the lesson 4-3 review. So again, take good notes so that you can use these notes on your Savvas lesson quiz. So starting with number 1, write an expression equivalent to 3/5 x plus -3 plus -6 minus 1/5 x. So I'm going to identify my like terms first, the terms that have the same variable. So I see I have 3/5 x minus 1/5 x. Now I can put this into my calculator, but because they have the same denominator, this is really easy to do in my head. So we have 3/5 minus 1/5. And 3/5 minus 1/5 gives me 2/5. And the x stays with that. So we're going to have 2/5 x. And now I see that the terms that are not circled, -3 and -6, are also like terms. Remember, plain old numbers can be considered like terms, and I can combine them. So I'm now going to combine -3 and -6. So -3 plus -6. So -3 plus -6. If I were to put that in my calculator, or if I do that in my head, I get -9. So I've got 2/5 x, and I'm going to subtract 9 from that, and that is my answer. 2/5 x minus 9. Okay, moving on to number 2. Simplify the expression 2t plus 8. Well, sorry, 2t plus 8t. 2t plus 8t. Well, all I'm going to do, since they both have a t, is combine 2 plus 8. 2 plus 8 is 10, so 10t is my answer. 10t is my answer. Moving on to number 3. Simplify the expression -4w plus -7 plus 2 plus -8w. So I'm going to identify my like terms that have a variable first. So I see I've got -4w here, and I have -8w here. So I'm just going to combine. We have -4 minus 8 gives me -12. So -4 minus 8, I can write that better, gives me -12. And the w will stay with that. So we have -12w. Now the two terms that are not circled are just plain old numbers, but I can still combine them. So I've got -7 plus 2. And -7 plus 2, if I were to put that in my calculator or do it in my head, I would get -5. So I'm going to subtract 5, and -12w minus 5 is my answer. Okay, moving on to number 4. This one's a little bit more challenging because we have some decimals here. So write an expression equivalent to the expression below. So we have 2.4 plus -3.8m plus 1.4m minus 1.6. So I'm going to start with my variable terms. So I have a -3.8m and a positive 1.4m. So in my calculator, I'm going to type -3.8 plus 1.4. And when I put that into my calculator, I end up with -2.4. And the m will stay with that. So we have -2.4m. Now the two terms that are not circled are just plain old decimal numbers. I can still combine them. So in my calculator, I'm going to type 2.4 minus 1.6. And when I type 2.4 minus 1.6 into my calculator, I end up with 0.8. Now keep in mind that that right there is a positive 0.8. So I'm going to add 0.8 here. So my answer, my final answer, is -2.4m plus 0.8. But real quick, I want to talk about, would it be the same thing if I had flip-flopped these terms? That means I would have written 0.8 in front and 2.4m behind that. Yeah, it would be the exact same answer. It would just look like this, 0.8 out in front, and then minus 2.4m. Because remember that 2.4m is negative, so I would have to subtract it, okay? So this right here is the same answer. So 0.8 minus 2.4 m. Okay, number 5. Select all the pairs of like terms in the expression. So like terms are terms that can be combined. They have the same variable, or they're just all plain old numbers. So let's look right here. I've got 2/5 y plus 1/5 x minus 0.2 y minus 6 plus negative 2. Okay, so if I were to start combining like terms and simplifying this expression, I would start with my x's. So we have 1/5 x. Well, are there any other x's in this problem? Nope. So I know that that's not going to combine with anything. So any answer choice that has 1/5 x, I can go ahead and eliminate. So this first one has 1/5 x, and the third one has 1/5 x. Okay, we're off to a good start. Now I would move on to my y's. So here I have 2/5 y and negative 0.2 y. Are there any other y's? Nope. But let's look for an answer choice that has 2/5 y and negative 0.2 y. Oh, look, this second choice has exactly that. So that right there is correct. Okay. And then look at the fourth answer choice. I have 0.2 y, but it says that it's a like term with 2. And that's not correct. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate that choice right there. So really, we need to check on negative 6 and negative 2. And those happen to be the only two terms that I haven't circled at this point, right? Well, those are terms that we could combine. Negative 6 plus negative 2, if I were to put that in my calculator, I would get negative 8. So I can combine those terms, so they are considered like terms. So those are the two answer choices that are correct. Okay, moving on to number 6. Simplify the expression 9.7 minus 1.5x plus negative 5.2x plus 2.4. Okay, so we are given this box to record our answer in. So I want you to notice that the term that's attached to x needs to come second, and the term that is not attached to a variable is going to come first. So because Savvis is providing this specific answer box, we're going to start with our plain old decimal numbers, the one that is not attached to a x. So looking at this problem, what is not attached to an x? Well, 9.7 and 2.4. Now, both of those are positive, so in my calculator, I'm taking let's fix that. I'm taking 9.7 and adding 2.4 to that. And when I put that into my calculator, I end up with 12.1. So, because I get 12.1, I'm going to put that right here, 12.1. Now, the two terms that are not circled are the two x terms. So they are like terms. And one thing that I notice about them is that they are both negative. I see a negative there and a negative there. So they're both negative. So I'm going to take negative 1.5 and add negative 5.2 to that. And when I put that into my calculator, I end up with negative 6.7. And we know that's the number that gets attached to our x. So I'm going to put it in this box here. So I'm going to go ahead and write 6.7. Now, keep in mind that they already gave us a subtraction sign here. So what would happen if I put a negative sign? Well, remember when you subtract a negative number, didn't we talk about that turning to addition? So I don't want to write another negative sign right there. I'm going to leave it exactly like this right here. Remember, the negative sign is already taken care of. Do not write a negative 6.7. Answer exactly like I have done here. Okay, let's move on to number 7. So number 7 looks complicated, but it's not as scary as it looks. We're told to simplify the expression 1 plus 4.25n plus 3 over 2p minus 3 plus negative 2p plus 5/4 n. So I see I have two different variables, n and p. And I like to start with the one that comes first in the alphabet, which is n. So here I have 4.25 n and 5/4 n. Now they're both positive, but one's a decimal and one's a fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my calculator and I'm going to turn that one into a decimal. So when I put 5 divided by 4 into my calculator, I end up with 1.25, and of course the n is still with that. So now I can look at it as I have two decimals, right? So what is 4.25 plus 1.25? Well, when you put that into your calculator, you get 5.5, and of course the n would stay with that, so 5.5 n. Okay, now let's look at our other variable terms. We have 3/2p, and sorry, that's positive. That's positive 3/2p, okay? And then we have negative 2p. So because I've got a fraction and a integer, I'm going to make this fraction one a decimal. It'll just be easier to put into my calculator. So 3 divided by 2, when I put that into my calculator, I get 1.5. So 1.5p, right? So now I'm combining positive 1.5 with negative 2. So 1.5 plus negative 2. When I put that into my calculator, I get negative 0.5. And of course the p stays with that. So negative 0.5p. Now, the only terms that are not circled or squared in this expression are also like terms. They're just plain old numbers, and I can still combine them. So I'm going to combine 1, positive 1, with negative 3. Let's see if I can make that a better triangle maybe. There we go. So we have 1 minus 3, and we know that 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So I'm going to finish off this answer with a minus 2. So 5.5n minus 0.5p minus 2 is our answer. And that is the end of the 4-3 review on combining like terms.